Welcome back, everybody. This is the final presentation of our conference. It's been a very special day for everybody here, and I'm honored to present you with our final two speakers, John Jedinak and Arash Mandavi from AnyLogic North America.
Everyone, and thank you for taking the time to join us today for this presentation. We'll introduce you to the AnyLogic company's AI initiative and discuss a variety of AI-related tools, technologies, and workflows that were added to the AnyLogic technology stack and ecosystem over the past 3 years. Throughout this conference, you have seen and heard about the intersection of simulation modeling and artificial intelligence from half a dozen of our collaborators, partners, implementers, and users. In this presentation, we want to show you an overview of all of the tools and workflows that have been added to the AnyLogic and AnyLogic Cloud ecosystem over the past 3 years that have made those applied AI scenarios a possibility. This is a joint presentation between Dr. Arash Mandavi and myself, but before I properly introduce you to the team, let me first explain what is the AI initiative and what the goals are. Background. Just over 3 years ago, Dr. Arash Mandavi proposed the idea of establishing an AI program. The belief was that AnyLogic and AnyLogic Cloud technology stacks are ideal for integration with AI algorithms and workflows, and that through advancing this integration, the AnyLogic company would be the thought leader and technology leader in applied AI. We began to brainstorm, and we came up with a plan and a business case, which we pitched to our CEO, Andrei Borshev, and he agreed with the vision, and the AI initiative was then born. To pursue this aim, we established the following 3 goals. First, we needed to create a new frontier in applied AI. To accomplish this, we want to expand AnyLogic and AnyLogic Cloud's cutting-edge ecosystem to become the most powerful one for applied artificial intelligence. Our second goal is to provide our customers with the most flexible solution to achieve their own AI goals. Given the rapidly growing and evolving nature of different AI solutions, we want to give the community the widest range of options for choosing their ideal implementation method. We are accomplishing this by providing a number of alternative tools, technologies, and workflows. And our third goal was to maximize compatibility and standardization. We are making every effort to construct all of these new tools and technologies with flexible and compatible APIs that can be used across alternative workflows. Okay, now let me introduce you to the main team behind AnyLogic's AI initiative. I'm John Jedinak, the Managing Director of AnyLogic North America. Dr. Arash Mandavi is our AI program lead. Tyler Wolf-Adam is our simulation modeling specialist. Anatoly Zherepsov is the head of AnyLogistics development. Nikolai Cherkov is the head of software development. And Alexander Domonsky is the head of AnyLogic Cloud development. Since we started the project, I've spent the last 3 years collaborating with a number of technology partners, technology developers, and implementers, as well as our AnyLogic distribution networks and consultants, all to help them expand their businesses in new markets that we have now been able to access as a result of the work we've been doing. Near the end of this presentation, I'll share some thoughts on how different types of businesses can join us in this journey and benefit from the applied AI technologies and solutions. From the beginning, Arash has not only been the catalyst for driving the initiative, but he has been the constant pillar for its continued success. We were fortunate that Tyler, who joined Arash's team just before the start of the initiative, quickly began to contribute and become an integral part of the program. Over the last 2 years, he has created 2 Python connectors, Pipeline and Alpine, which were presented earlier at the start of the conference. We were also fortunate to have a team of world-class software engineers and developers to contribute their time and energy to the project. Anatoly, with his experience in simulation modeling and his insight into relevant technology stacks, took the lead in developing a connector between AnyLogic and external reinforcement learning platforms. Later, Nikolai standardized reinforcement learning connections with a new experiment in AnyLogic known as RL experiment. Finally, Alexander is working on an interactive Python API that will bring the scalability and execution power of AnyLogic Cloud to RL experiments by the end of this year. Okay, some introductions and backstory are out of the way. Now let's look at the scenarios that we think of as intersection points between simulation modeling and artificial intelligence. To make things easier for you, and quite frankly me, Please allow me to introduce Dr. Arash Mandavi, our AI program lead. Arash will clearly articulate the scenarios and cases where AI and simulation make sense.
Thank you, John. We've roughly divided the scenarios that John just mentioned into three major categories: synthetic data, reinforcement learning, and ML testbed. Under each of these categories, there are several possible use cases. Detailed explanation and flowchart graphics of each can be found on the AnyLogic.ai webpage. If you are new to the topic and looking to explore the options, learning about the potential of these use cases would be an excellent place to start. In this presentation, I'd like to concentrate on the tools, connectors, and technologies that we created for the application of those use cases. Keep in mind that we have intentionally designed multiple implementation options for each category in order to meet the needs of various workflows and requirements. Let's start by synthetic data generation. In this category, we use the simulation model to generate unlimited amounts of relevant, clean, structured, and labeled training data. When using a simulation model in this way, the basic workflow is to execute multi-run simulation experiments, ideally with parallel simulation runs, and record the results in a format that is consumable by ML algorithms. AnyLogic and AnyLogic Cloud provide a variety of ways to execute the models and write the outputs to a desirable repository. Option 1, outputting to the AnyLogic built-in database or external databases connected to the model. Each AnyLogic model comes with a built-in database which is suitable for high-velocity data transfers and supports exporting to Excel files. You can also directly connect to Excel and text files locally or remotely via AnyLogic's simple and easy-to-use APIs. AnyLogic models can also connect to any relational database that supports JDBC. Option 2, using AnyLogic Cloud to rapidly scale the multi-run simulation experiment and output generation. AnyLogic Cloud gives you access to a scalable and server-based execution platform for streamlining the generation of outputs. After uploading your model to the cloud, you can set up experiments in the web app and later export the results to Excel or JSON. The same can also be done via API calls in JavaScript, Python, and Java. The cloud also supports outgoing connections, such as models which write to an external relational database. The next category of AI application is reinforcement learning. An integral part of any reinforcement learning setup is providing RL agents with a reliable simulated environment. This is best accomplished by using a powerful general-purpose simulation software with fast, consistent, and streamlined connections to RL algorithms. For experts or researchers who want to use AnyLogic models as their training environment for reinforcement learning, there are three available options: AnyLogic Cloud Interactive API, third-party platforms for automated RL, and the Alpine library. Option 1, upload the simulation model to the AnyLogic Cloud and use the Interactive Cloud API to communicate with user-assigned AI frameworks. This option is for experts with manually defined RL training code who wish to train using simulation environments hosted on AnyLogic Cloud. Owners of AnyLogic Private Cloud have access to an interactive Python API which takes care of running the models on a scalable server-based platform. This option would be available by the end of this year. Option 2, upload or connect the simulation model to an automated RL training and development environment. AnyLogic actively collaborates with pioneers in automated RL, such as Microsoft Project Bonsai and Pathmine, to streamline the process of establishing and executing RL trainings in applied applications. These automated platforms allow end users to abstract away from the tedious process of finding the best RL algorithms and training parameters. This allows subject matter experts who are looking for practical and scalable platforms to benefit from reinforcement learning without needing a computer science degree. Both Pathmine and Microsoft Project Bonsai had several presentations in this conference. For more information about their platforms and how to get access to them, please visit the AnyLogic.ai website. Option 3. Connect exported AnyLogic models with AI frameworks in a local Python environment via Alpine. For those interested to test how manually curated RL setup works with an AnyLogic model on a local machine, Alpine provides a way to do so. This Python-based package allows you to communicate with an AnyLogic model exported from the RL experiment. Alpine follows a similar API to AnyLogic Cloud's interactive API, providing the opportunity to move to a more scalable setup with minimal refactoring. The beta release of this free connector is available to you from this GitHub repo. In case you missed Tyler's earlier workshop, it will soon be available on our YouTube channel. We will also have a dedicated webinar for Alpine in the coming months. I mentioned at the beginning that one of the main objectives of the AI initiative is compatibility with alternative solutions. All three of these options use the RL experiment as their connection to the simulation model, which allows the model to be ported to any of the other options. This gives you the choice of starting with the most convenient or relevant option to your specific use case. As your project develops, you can easily migrate to a different, more suitable workflow. The third and final type of application I'd like to discuss is ML testbed. In this scenario, you are utilizing trained ML models from within simulated environments. To clarify, a trained ML model is one which has been trained outside of AnyLogic ecosystem. Then, to evaluate or utilize the trained ML model's predictive abilities, it can be included as part of the simulation model. Testing or embedding ML models requires a connection between a trained ML model and a simulation model during runtime. AnyLogic provides three general connection options regardless of the language in which the ML model was trained in and for both local and remote connections. Option 1, remote communication via API calls with ML models hosted by ML or AutoML platforms. Any trained ML model can be deployed in a way that allows it to be queried via API. Almost all popular ML or AutoML platforms provide an easy mechanism to do this out of the box. Within your simulation, simple code can be added to construct the request at the appropriate time and apply the return prediction. This workflow abstracts away from the programming language of the trained ML model. Option 2, natively embed a trained ML model into the simulation environment. Local querying of a trained ML model is possible when the training was either in Java, AnyLogic's native language, or when the training platform allows the ML model to be exported in a format usable in Java. For example, with H2O.ai driverless AI, trained models can be downloaded as mojos, a scoring engine that can be deployed in any Java environment with the assistance of their Java libraries. Option 3, usage of the pipeline library for local access to a trained ML model based in Python. If a trained ML model is accessible by a Python library, then Pipeline, a custom AnyLogic library, can be used to query it. Pipeline allows you to execute Python scripts with arguments or interactively run Python code from within your AnyLogic models using a local installation of Python. For more information about this library, please go to this GitHub repo. You will be able to access the library itself, along with several examples and a wiki containing a thorough user guide. You also have access to several example models from within AnyLogic's built-in repository of example models. Now that we've seen an overview of the technology stack available to create various types of AI applications, I'd like to have John share his views on the business implications of these new options.
Thank you, Arash. We're already looking forward to the many solutions that you'll be able to create with the new abilities we've given the AnyLogic ecosystem. We do think that this is a pivotal time for many of you who run simulation-based businesses and practices. I think you have an opportunity to be part of the AI revolution and develop businesses or solutions that will open new market sectors in the simulation industry. If you're interested in joining us on this journey, we have onboarding processes in place to help you explore and get started with your AI projects. If you're a simulation consultant or AI solution implementer wanting to learn more about the business prospects for expanding your practice, we have various options for giving you all of the tools and assistance you need to get started. If you're an AI technology provider and the AnyLogic simulation ecosystem appeals to you, we'd be delighted to discuss the technical requirements for establishing a connection or integration between our platforms. We are eager to build on our existing relationships or start new partnerships. And if you're an end-user business looking into simulation modeling or already have a successful simulation modeling practice and want to develop it further with AI technologies, we can assist you in making an informed selection. Again, if you found what we discussed today intriguing, please do not hesitate to contact me or Arash for a meeting to talk about your case and receive more specialized and applicable information. With that, I'd like to introduce Arash again to hear what he has to say for a conclusion.
Thank you, John. I'd also like to emphasize that the core group is not the only ones who have helped and assisted in this effort. I especially want to recognize our marketing team who has continued to help us promote these new ideas and assist us in spreading the news. And obviously, without the company's management and Andre himself, who was focused on putting AnyLogic at the forefront of simulation modeling technology, none of this would have been possible. We have a fantastic community, and I'd like to extend a special thank you to everyone who has helped spread the word about our project. I also want to express my gratitude for your continued support, useful criticism, and patience with us as we work on new tools and capabilities that hopefully deserve your trust and commitment. Next is the live Q&A session, and I'll be joined by John and Tyler to answer your questions. Thank you. Okay. Thank you to all of you who have stayed until the end of the conference to see the AI presentation. As you can see, John and Tyler are with me, and we are going to answer your questions shortly. But before we start, I just wanted to announce that we recently have updated the AI section of AnyLogic website, and you can directly get access to that in the anylogic.ai webpage. I put a link on the chat shortly so you can get access to that. There you will find detailed explanation of use cases and workflows of each of the three categories of use cases that we've shown in this presentation. You will also find links to tools and platforms like Path1 and Microsoft Project Bonsai that were demonstrated in several presentations and workshops during the conference. With that said, let's take a look to see if there is any questions. Okay, so I put the links that I just mentioned to the chat. Let's do that first, and as we are waiting for your questions. Okay. Okay, so the first question is very interesting. Any relations or opportunity to apply quantum computation with AnyLogic? To the extent of my knowledge, we haven't explored anything like this. But any general purpose simulation tool, if you have a knowledge of how to translate a certain behavior into the way that these type of platforms abstract away from the original or the system, you might be able to build something in that context, but to the best of my knowledge, I haven't seen anything in that context. Okay. Okay, thank you, Aris. Thank you, Luis. Thank you, Martha. One other thing that, as we are waiting for your questions to come, Tyler also at the beginning of the conference showed that the new library that we published recently. It's called Alpine. It lets you to take control of your exported AnyLogic model. At the moment, it is focused on RL experiments, so it's designed solely for running custom built RL workflows with Python. Let me put the link for that also on the chat. So that is Alpine. So here, so I will ask Tyler to give us a brief. So Tyler, maybe can you tell us what type of information and kind of documentation is available at this GitHub repo?
Yep, sure. So actually, as of this afternoon, when I first published it yesterday, there were some initial issues with the documentation side of things, but I've since fixed that. So there's a whole website. And so if you go to the GitHub link, there's in the README, which is available pretty much on the very first screen. Once you arrive on the page, there's a link where you can check that out. And so it has kind of some background information, instructions on how to convert a traditional AnyLogic model to one that's RL ready, and then also more technical class documentation as well.
Thank you, Tyler. So Rainer has a question about, is there anything on the horizon that you have not already talked about during the conference? No major thing that we haven't talked about, but the only kind of a big new API that is coming up next is the Cloud Interactive API, which kind of helps you to scale your custom reinforcement learning. And the great thing about it is it follows a similar kind of API design with what Tyler did in Alpine. So in case you start with this localized version of the workflow and you wanted to move to the cloud, you have that kind of workflow available to you. The next question is there a plan to operate a 3-day learning with an AI focus? So that's kind of related to John and also us. But I'm going to answer. I'm going to tell you about the way I think about it. Yes, I think we are at the point that we have enough technology stack to do something like this. But I think eventually when we decide to do something like this, we need to partner with another team that are more versed in the AI side of things, and it could be like a joint training at some point. But yeah, that's definitely something that we are considering. But we need to develop the material that is kind of suitable for this type of training.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. As you can imagine, we're simulation guys. We make simulation software. You're simulation modelers. We're not AI guys. You heard Kent's earlier today, and some of the guys who are really deep thinkers in the AI. We would have to bring them along with the journey on that to get us to have a full encompassing training program that would make sense.
Yes, thank you, John. And now I was thinking about other things that are coming up next. We already have recorded a webinar with Pathmind, so it's going to be scheduled for a month from now, I guess. We are also, Tyler and I worked on a document, pretty comprehensive documentation of the end-to-end workflow with Bonsai platform that is ready. We just waited for the latest updates to be finalized before we kind of update that document as well. That will be also ready. And if you look into the AnyLogic.ai webpage, the sections that have links to Pathmind and Bonsai are going to be get substantial updates pretty soon with all the new material that we have for those two platforms. So that's another thing that you can look forward to. Okay, so I think that's all the questions. The fact that you stayed around till now and asked those questions, we are super happy about that, and I cannot thank you enough for that. So I think that's all we had for this session, and you know how to reach out to us. America at AnyLogic.com is how you can that's a generic email that can reach us contact us with, and then we connect you to the right person based on your specific questions. So with that, I ask John to kind of wrap up this.
All right. Thanks, Arash. Thanks, Tyler. Greatly appreciated. So here we are. Thanks, everybody, for sticking around with us. Welcome to the conclusion. This brings us to the end of the AnyLogic Conference for 2021. So over the past 24 hours, we've seen exciting presentations from many different types of companies around the world in multiple time zones. The applications of AnyLogic software span across various industries from mining to automotive, financial, logistics, with use cases from production planning, resource allocation to digital twins. We saw a couple digital twins. We heard many presentations around AI, not even including ours here at the end, and reinforcement learning, while learning new techniques from industry experts in some of the workshops. And we got a sneak peek from our CEO, Dr. Andrei Borshev, at the future of AnyLogic software with AnyLogic 9, and an overview of product enhancements from our current versions and our roadmap for tomorrow. I'd like to extend a quick thank you to the AnyLogic marketing team, development team, and quite frankly, the Spot Me crew production team for helping keeping things running smooth throughout this conference. I'd also like to thank the conference committee team members who helped make this a success. Daria Doroshenko, Gavin Wilkinson, Arash Madavi, of course, and Anna Guseva. David Kirby, Max Kravitz, Tyler Wolf-Adam, and Jeff Wirtz from the AnyLogic North America team to help moderate and support the presentations. And a very special thank you to our conference chairperson, Julia Lavagna, whose tireless efforts, tremendous project management skills, and tenacity pulled this global virtual conference together with great success. Obviously, this was no small task, so thank you, Julia. You are very much appreciated. Now, rest assured, the presentations and workshops have been recorded and available on this platform to review again at your leisure, and ultimately will be posted to our YouTube channel in the next few days. To be sure, it's been a long 24 hours. So how do we do? Well, based on our preliminary live analytics, we've had over 3,000 registrants for the conference, over 2,000 active participants in the last 24 hours, and approximately 220 viewers per presentation. I'd say we did pretty good. However, my opinion, it's not really one that matters, it's our users. So that being said, there's a link to a conference survey posted on the homepage of the conference platform, and we really would like you to take a moment and give us your thoughts. We truly appreciate your honesty, as it's the only way we really continue to make our AnyLogic conferences better each year. So final comment from me. Although a virtual conference has been a great alternative, nothing beats getting together, swapping stories, tips and tricks to brag about our successes using AnyLogic software, seeing colleagues from the past, cohorts, all that. So depending on the survey results, perhaps we'll see you in person at the next AnyLogic conference in 2022 in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm John Yetnek, and it's been a pleasure spending the last 24 hours with you. Thank you, and have a good evening.